War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to Bleav in Everything Auburn, which is brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Bet Online. Basketball fans, it's about that time of year again. The NBA is back from opening tip-off to buzzer beaters. Bet Online has you covered with the best odds, biggest promos, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters, and Bet Online has every stat, matchup breakdown, and live odds to bet on during the games. And it's not just the NBA, as you all know. Bet Online has odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, even political props. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. That is Bet Online. The game starts here. What up, everybody? Welcome back in to Bleav in Everything Auburn. Taylor Davis and Jason Campbell back with you. Apologies for no episode last week. Schedule conflicts just wouldn't allow for us to do it, but we are back. And we're going to try and find a way to spin this because this is getting a little repetitive around here. Unfortunately, the Tigers drop another one in heartbreaking fashion on the road against Missouri after having a lead until the last 2 minutes of the game. Let's start with the reality, Jay, and kind of analyze this for what it was. Another win that absolutely fell out of Auburn's hands and would have been what felt like a get-right game against a top 25 team in Mizzou on the road, and a 21-17 loss in the last 2 minutes of the game. What went wrong in your eyes? What is still plaguing this team?
Well, breaking news, right? Auburn has got to win 4 of the next 5. I said Auburn win 5 in a row, and now we got to win 4 of the next 5. Now, what happens if we win 5 in a row? Then I still be correct technically. So, I have one more game to go. If we lose, to cancel out my 5 in a row. So,
okay,
players, y'all tighten up for
help
me.
him out.
yeah. I'm trying to encourage people around here. Another tough game, right? Going to the fourth quarter, 17-6. I'm there calling the game along with Andy Burchin, and you see Auburn get the touchdown on the muff punt. Simmons able to knock it out. Kite recovers it for a touchdown. You're like, okay, man, we're up 10-3, and everything in the third quarter, and then all of a sudden you have opportunity to go back down the field and you score a touchdown. You hit a touchdown pass to Cam Coleman. You make it 17-3. And then at that point, you're like, okay, now it's about how can we put this team away?
Right.
And as soon as I said that, you see Brady Cook come back to the sideline. He's warming up. We're driving again. And you're just like, okay, they end up getting a field goal somewhere in there. So it was 17-6. And then I was like, okay, we go down the field. We're driving. It's just like, okay, short field goal. If you make it, we're up 20-6, 2 touchdowns. I think we still win the game at that point because it makes a difference in momentum. And I told Andy, I said, if he doesn't make this kick, their starting quarterback's coming in the game, and then this place is about to erupt.
Yep.
And exactly, he misses the kick, and then it's like we tank our heads down at that point because we had a chance to go up 20-6, and now still 17-6, and you're still in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, but then their starting quarterback is coming back.
Yep.
So then all of a sudden, people just went crazy, right? So you just saw all the momentum just shift, and then they big third down with a guy in there running for almost 50 yards down to like the 2-yard line, and I'm just like, here we go again, Oklahoma game all over, right? Oklahoma, a 51-yard field goal. 2 plays later, they hit the go ball. They're in the end zone, and the rest was history. So, dang, it's repeating itself again. And that's exactly what happened. And then on a game-winning drive, on 4th down and 10, they throw to their best receiver. They end up scoring a touchdown, 46 seconds. And, of course, we're not going to get down the field to score a touchdown. So it's almost to me, Taylor, that this team find ways to lose games. And instead of pressing and putting the foot on putting the gas to the pedal in the fourth quarter and just saying, hey, we're finna go take this win. Like they started looking in the fourth quarter for something to go wrong because they have get accustomed to that. Instead of having the mentality of flipping the switch, like, no, we're going to play, as hard as we can. We're going to go for it. We're not going to get conservative. We're not going to, kind of just ease our way and hope that we win. We're going to go take this win. I think that's what the mentality has got to change is we've accustomed to getting used to losing games when in the fourth quarter because mentally we're not strong enough yet. And
Right.
the young guys, you know, they're hungry. They want to win. Like it hurts. You know, I'm not saying the older guys it doesn't hurt, but it's almost like they accustomed over the last couple of years.
You're
31
Yep.
lose.
Yep.
You know, and 2 years before that, you know, we run out of bounds and we stay in bounds, we beat Bama. So
Mhm.
it's like we're always finding ways to lose these games, and it's becoming a habit now.
It is a habit now. I think everyone wants to find something to blame, right? I think that's a natural reaction when things are going so wrong. What gets the blame, and which there have been comments made about things not going our way, and maybe bad luck. When it's been this long, it's not about luck. It's who you are at this point. And I totally agree with you. This element of hesitation and I haven't been able to breathe a sigh of relief in a game as an Auburn fan in a long time, and that comes with just demeanor and how you take the field and your interactions on the sideline. Like I've been down there. You've obviously been a huge part of it. It all feeds off each other, and I haven't felt that kind of electricity in an Auburn team in a really long time, and it's confusing where that has to start because obviously, as we know in the SEC, there's a lot of heat around Hugh Freeze right now, and people want to have the conversations about what he hasn't done as an Auburn coach. We've spent almost 2 years saying that Peyton Thorne is not a good enough quarterback for the SEC. We've broken down play calling elements and how we weren't running the ball enough. Well, now people are mad they ran the ball too much. It's just everyone trying to find a reason for this because what this Auburn program should be is nothing like this. We have everything we need to be a competitive program and to be a confident program. And I'm not sure when, how, why we lost that to the degree that we have. And now it feels like it's just the downhill slide of, well, it happened to us last week. Heck, now it's happened 5 times this season. Why would we have confidence that it's not going to happen again next week?
Yeah, that's the question, right? So all it takes is one game to kind of break the cycle.
Right.
And this game to me is almost a must-win game because you lost 4 in a row. And at this point in time, yes, your recruiting class is understanding like, hey, we see a lot of young guys starting, right? We got 3 freshmen starting in the secondary. You got, a lot of young players playing, so they see the opportunity to come in and play and contribute along with the guys that are here this year. So they're looking at the future like we're not so focused on what y'all are doing right now. We know that we're coming in to change things. So
Yep.
that's the right mindset. Now, for the guys that are there now, though, like I've talked to most older guys, I say, look, you want to these next 5 weeks is to create a legacy phase for you. I said to try to get this program going in the right direction, winning games. I said, so whatever you got to do to sacrifice over the next 5 weeks, whatever it is that you are not putting enough in or doing too much of that you need to cut back on so that you can focus and lock in, now is the time. Yes, players still need to step up too. We drop a touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone. We miss a chip shot field goal. No, that's 10 points. That's the difference between winning and losing. And
Yeah.
same thing that comes up in a lot of these other games. You turn the ball over in the red zone, 4th and 1. You run Sam Jackson and not Jarquez. 3rd and 5, they would throw a crossing route to Sam Jackson and not KLS or someone. So I think we have to pay as a staff. I think you have to pay more attention about who's in the ball game at these critical moments.
Right.
That the ball is going to your game changer players, and not someone that 6th or 7th on the depth chart. No offense, but with the
No.
games on the line, the ball needs to be going to your top guys
Exactly.
and everything. So I think that that's something they can learn from. It's like, hey, don't get so caught up in the situation to the point that you are not paying attention to who's in the ball game in these critical moments. And I think for
Right.
players is you got to step up and make plays. It's the fourth quarter. They run that out route. Okay, we put a senior on their best receiver, right? It's man against man. Best
Yep.
man wins. And of course, their receiver will end up catching the ball and everything. So my whole thing is players can't look at coaches and blame coaches. Coaches can't look at players and blame players. Everyone's got to find a way to do better within themselves. Do
That's
your
a
own
great point.
job. I think everyone's worried about if I'm a receiver, who's throwing me the ball and all this type of stuff. Okay, when the ball is there, are you catching it? Are you dropping passes? Are you running the right
Mhm.
routes? Are you doing the things you need to do? Running backs, are you picking up the right blitzes? What I'm saying? Like Peyton, are you making the right RPO calls? Because everyone has something to look at and go around.
Totally.
Ooh, you wanted to be a kicker at Auburn. These are the pressures and things that happen with being a kicker at Auburn. Like
Yeah.
you got to lock in, you got to fight through adversity. So I think right now everybody's trying to find out how to get through adversity, Taylor. And some of these kids have never dealt with it before. Think about it. If you're a Cam Coleman, if you're a Caleb Harris, you're Malik Blockton, you're all these kids that Jay Crawford, you're used to winning in high school. If
Right.
you're from Thompson High School, you competed in 3 of the last 4 state championships. So this bothers you. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's someone's first time hitting adversity and they don't know how to get through it because everybody's told them since they've been born that they're the best thing out there.
Yeah.
No one challenges these kids sometimes to be better at their craft because they're scared they're going to transfer. Coaches are now reluctant. Dang, do I coach too hard? Do I stay back? How much do I push this kid? How much do I cradle this kid? So they're confused because it's like, how much do I not try to push them away? But then how much can I be honest with and say, hey, dude, you got a lot of room to grow to be better. This is not high school no more. You can't live off what you did in high school. You got to rewrite the script now that you're in college.
Right. No, it's so true. And it just, I don't know, there's an element of it right now that can be a very dangerous mentality because you can get to a point of like, well, what's the point? Like this is what our season is, nothing we do moving forward. There is a very easy way that mentality festers. And I really am hopeful that is not the case because there is purpose to it all, specifically for the young guys that are going to be impact players next year. My concern though, Jay, is yes, we've got impressive young guys, and yes, our recruiting has been fantastic. But at some point, I don't really care how many 4 or 5 stars you're getting when what we're putting on the field looks like such an unfinished product. You can have all the talent in the world. It was the issue at Texas A&M that got Jimbo Fisher kicked out. Like, you can have all the talent in the world, all the resources, laundry list of 5 stars, but you're letting games literally leave your grasp in the fourth quarter. Your turnovers have been insane. You are so far at the bottom of the SEC in so many statistical categories, and your guys don't know how to win ball games. I don't care what you did in high school, and I don't care how good we're doing on the recruiting trail. If once we get them there, they're ill-equipped to really rise to the occasion when the pressure is the highest.
Well, like I said, there got to be consequences to actions, right? And to me, I think a lot of times nowadays, these college athletes, you have the NIL, you have other schools poking at your kids, or trying to grab your kids from your program. So then you have to get into a place where, okay, you have to come up with the money to keep your kids and everything. So if you're 2-5 and everyone's still trying to poke you away from your program, that sucks, right? Because now, guess what? The kid's salary got to go up, right? So the kid's salary go up. So what's the consequences for losing? So
Yeah.
it's not pay for play, but if you're performing better, then that means your opportunities are more.
Sure.
But if you're not performing better, then how are your opportunities still being created more? Because people are like poking at these kids left and right. So kids don't have to sit in to the point where they say, well, I got to stick around and fix this, because they know they can have the easy way out, which is what? I can leave.
Right.
And I think that's the problems you run into nowadays is back in the running in my days and when we played is I had to have this, what I'm saying, in order to get to where I wanted to go and do the things I
Right.
wanted to do, I had to have this. A lot of these kids don't feel like they have to have this because they well taken care of in college. So the
Sure.
mentality changes. So it's almost like, oh, we went out, we lost the game, but still get my check next
I
week.
got mine. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it has to come into a place where there's like, I'm not saying you deduct every time you lose a game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, how do you make the kids fight through adversity, stick through it to fix it, so that this time next year you're a year better
Mm-hmm.
because you went through the adversity this year that taught you something. It taught you how to be stronger. It taught you how to fight more. You learn how to win now in the fourth quarter because you learn how to lose in the fourth quarter. There has to be accountability on everybody's part. coaches have got to look at it because there's games, let's be honest, we could have won with some of the choices and decisions that we made, and that's a proven fact. And then there's choices in games that sometimes a coach can't control, but at the same time, you got to get a chance to know your players more and know your players better. So hopefully these guys don't look at the rest of the season and say, oh, it's a wash, because I'm telling you right now, update your resume, because the next 5 weeks, if you don't show that you want to be here, then some of you probably won't be here, but at the end of the day, you learn how to fight, because this is what I tell the kids, Taylor, then I give it back to you, is NIL, fan base have been loyal to you through the losing. When are you going to be loyal and committed back to the fan base and back to the people that help you as a student athlete to make the finances that you make? No one's docked a check. No one's missed a check. You still get your money. There's other schools, when you lose, have stopped paying, can't come up with the money. Not Auburn. We'll continue to support these kids. We'll continue to fight for these kids. Stands continue to sell out, whether it's 2 and 5, 3 and 7 a couple of years ago. These people have continued to show up. Now it's time for these student athletes to start showing up for the people that have been committed to them when things doesn't look as good.
Yeah. I agree with you. And obviously we've spoken so much about believing in high school and less transfer portal reliance. My thing is, though, the development piece of it is incredibly important if that is going to be where you put your emphasis. And I think, not to, we obviously never want to do this, but like the most accurate example is Nick Saban at Alabama. Not only would they get incredible talent, those guys were so well prepared. You have to be. You were developed and prepared for winning football to have the sustained success, and so much so that how many of those guys are now balling out in the league right now. That's a development piece. And you can also see that in the fact that Kalen DeBoer is not doing it right now. Like, there is an element missing now that clearly Nick Saban had guys prepared to win, not prepared to avoid loss. There is a difference. And I think Auburn has yet to show me that we are developing that. Even these young guys that we're seeing, it is a product of their just natural ability. I think that Malcolm Simmons is getting a lot better as season goes on. I think that Cam Coleman has all the makings. But what are we really seeing in them from a development perspective that gives us hope that all the high school glitz and glamour we're getting right now is actually going to succeed? I think there's got to be a step up on the development side of this, and it starts with zero acceptance and allowance of struggles that we're seeing on the field. It starts with freaking turnovers, things like drops, the poor decisions. There has to be a refusal to accept it. And I think Auburn right now has been like, well, this is what we've got. I don't accept that narrative. I don't believe in that. I believe in development, and somewhere we faltered in that from a disciplinary perspective. I think some of the sideline demeanor is crap, and I have seen it firsthand this season. I'm going to give you examples of each so I can take it out of the Auburn-Alabama conversation. I covered Florida State. Yeah. Florida State is trash this year. They look like trash. They've played like trash. I'm very confused how this flipped so dramatically. But let me tell you, I was at practice for Florida State the day before their game. DJ Uiagalelei was struggling. We know that, right? Yeah. Their receivers were dropping passes in practice in the indoor facility and then would just jog off, and the next guy would take his rep.
Nobody's saying.
Sam Acho and I were standing there talking, and Sam was like, a coach should have stepped up right now and said, do it again. There is no acceptance for a struggle like that. If it happens in game, it's not going to be because we set a precedent that like, well, it happens. We are going to do everything in our power to show you we don't accept crap like that. Right. Conversely, I just covered Army this past weekend, who is 7-0. They are in a conversation for a playoff if they win out, because they likely would be a group of 5 champion and highest ranked. I think Boise State's probably the only one that could mess that up for them. But Army, if you compare the kind of recruits that they're getting out of high school to all of these apples and oranges, these aren't big kids. These aren't like highly touted guys. They're disciplined. as heck. They have to be at a service academy, obviously. They have one turnover on the year. They have played 7 ball games and they have 1 turnover. And I talked to Jeff Monken, their head coach, about that. And he said, well, first of all, we do creative things. Like they have these sleeves that they put the football in. It kind of feels like an old school, like textbook cover. It's a very slippery material. That is what they practice with. So when they're wrapping up in practice and somebody goes to punch out, it's even easier for them to get it. They're practicing with that. The 1 turnover was their running back, Kanye Udo, who's having an incredible season. He had a fumble in the Florida Atlantic game. Did it lead to a loss? Did it mess them up big time? No. But to this day, Jeff Monken said, I give him crap about that fumble every single day. And in games since then, if he has a run and is not wrapped up with 2 arms, he hasn't fumbled since. But if I don't see him wrapping it with 2 arms, I have pulled him out of the game. He's their starting running back. There is a difference. And look, at the proof is in the pudding in what they're doing. 1 turnover on the year and an undefeated record. Conversely, Florida State's letting their wide receivers get away with drops in practice, and they've won 1 ball game. So I'm seeing it clear as day. The expectation of disciplined, high-level football translates to the games.
And I agree with all of pretty much everything you said. When you talk about it, you made some really good points, and I like to break it down as well with some people. So you mentioned Florida State, and then you mentioned Navy, right? Army. I mentioned Army. So Florida State did what this all season when they got a bunch of transfer guys?
Absolutely.
And so you go get all these transfer guys, and you pay them a whole bunch of money. Now, guess what? They don't feel like they got to listen to you.
No.
Because they don't have to be there the next year anyways, because most of them are probably transfer seniors.
Right.
You know, so they know they're gone. And then so that's the element that you get with that. When you go to Army not getting a lot of transfer guys. They don't deal with the portal. So guess what's happening? And I'm not saying you don't go out and get kids in the portal. I'm saying you go out and get maybe 3 or 4 that's much needed.
Totally.
You go out and get 10 to 12 to 15. That's not helping your program. You know, so when I look at Army is all about what? Discipline, attitude, you know, fight through adversity, play for each other, fight for each other. Your job is to protect your brother's back. If you don't in war, it can cost a life. You know, so their mentality is totally different. Where these guys that's like at Auburn's or the Florida States and the all these other schools is, I don't fight for my brother like that to know that his life is on the line.
Right.
You should fight for that in a ball game, because why? A win and a loss is on the line for your institution to be able to compete for a championship.
Yep.
You got too many guys that want to play for themselves because I'm worried about what he's getting. I'm worried about what I'm not getting. Instead of worrying about the end of the day, it's about wins and losses. So a lot of these guys are not playing for purpose. They're playing for selfish ambitions. And whatever you create that ambition to be, that's what you're more worried about than you are worried about the team.
Right.
That's the problem. Coach Saban and even Kirby nowadays, the reason you like to stack classes is one reason why. You stack these classes. So guess what? If one doesn't want to listen, now you got the option to say, hey, buddy, I done did my best I can do with you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's you go elsewhere. Why? Because the next one that steps up can be just as good as you, if not better.
Right.
That's where Auburn is not at yet, where sometimes they have to deal with some of the stuff that you don't like or you don't want to see and everything until you can get someone that's behind that person that's going to push that person in practice and going to push to take that person's job. Where if that one don't want to act right, hey, man, done everything we can do for you. It's best we just separate and go elsewhere. Why? Because you got the next one. That's what Coach Saban had at his arsenal, where he stacked all these classes, and anytime guys didn't act right, hey, come on, you in, sit down. I don't have to deal with that.
Exactly.
Now Coach DeBoer have just got to Alabama, and now he walked into some guys that the Milrose and those guys who've been through it already.
Yeah.
You're dealing with some of the young guys. You run a 4th and 1, they over there shooting the basketball. You know, so act like they're anticipating the basketball. You know, so that just tells me like, okay, these guys are too relaxed, because why? He feel like I can't say too much to him because this kid may leave on me because he don't know me as well yet. And that's the problem with not having kids sign 2-year contracts. It's because That first year, you can discipline the heck out of them, get them to understand you and your program because he can't go anywhere. Then the next year, you can get him prepared for play. But now, these kids coming here the way they are now, man. If some of them can't stand it if you say something to them, and like I'm always telling them, great ones want to be coached hard.
Yeah.
You want to be coached hard. You should demand to be coached hard because any coach that lets you do what you want to do doesn't care about your future.
Totally.
One that just grinds you and know that you can do better, he want to see you do it because he know you can do it. He know you can be better than that.
Yeah, it's definitely made it way more challenging. And when you're in the midst of a losing season, I imagine as a head coach, you're going, where do I even start with all of this? It does kind of feel like Hugh is at that point right now. But at this point, it is kind of just like, go ball, like just go play without the hesitation anymore. Like truly, we've got 5 games left. No one's really expecting bowl eligibility. Go get as much out of this as you can. Let your guys go and just mix it up a little bit. I'm just entirely confused by all of the, like, everyone's shoulders are up and have been all season. There's never just been like a freedom in play, because freedom comes with really having confidence that you know what you're doing. But a couple more elements I want to talk about with the Missouri game in particular. But first, I got to tell you about our other sponsor. Jay is rocking as always, and that is our friends over at Melon, the most durable hats that you could find, built to last 5 times longer than any other hat with their natural antimicrobial properties, so sweat doesn't break down the hat. No sweat stains, no smell. They are built for the water, and they don't lose their shape if you bring them into the water, if it floats, if you go golf and you're sweating, whatever. They are best for outdoor people and any outdoor activities, and their comfort and fit are fantastic. They're super comfortable. You can feel the difference in those materials that they use, and they have a fit finder on their website, so you can decide what size shape and the snapback and the fit best suits your head and your face. So they've really thought of everything. It's our new favorite hat, and we both have worn our Melon for the past few months since they've become a sponsor of our show. Jay has tested it out on the golf course and gave it 2 thumbs up. They have a full thermal collection with different levels of warmth to keep you warm as we approach the winter months. And Christmas is coming up, y'all. It will sneak up on you. And if you need something for someone in your life, especially someone that's out playing a round of golf or tailgating, you should try out Melon hats. So if you're looking for a hat that's as tough as you or the people in your life, check out Melon. You won't wear anything else after you get one for yourself. Melon.com. That is MELIN.com. And put it to the test yourself. Thank you, Melon, for sponsoring our show. I wanted to touch on, you kind of did, Towns Magoo. I don't know what's been going on with him lately. He has really struggled in the past few games in the kicking game. Hopefully Alex McPherson is going to be able to go. I think Hugh said anything 35 and in, so I don't think he's good enough to try any of these long, crazy field goals, but they're trying to get him back in this week. That missed field goal was huge, but even a step before that, and it makes me sad to even bring it up because Coach Freeze said that he texted teammates and coaches, and it was heartbreaking, and I hate things like that. But Robert Lewis, he knows that drop in the corner of the end zone on second down, you just feel it felt like the momentum shifted after that, and then the missed field goal kind of tapped on top of it. And then Peyton is sacked on the very next play, and then we miss a field goal, and then in comes Brady Cook, the hometown hero. Like, you just can't write it any differently, you know. But on that drive in particular, we had run 8 of 9 plays and then threw 3 times in goal-to-go situations. There's just elements of the play calling that you're like, what? Like, you're deviating when things are working. You're not deviating when things aren't working. Like, where is the lack of offensive rhythm at times? Not all the time. It's not that narrative that we had last season where you're like, where even is an offense? There's been more, but it's been disjointed at times. Where do you see the issue there?
Yeah, the thing about it, once you get to the 10-yard line, right, if you run it on first down and say you don't get any yards, and then the second down you throw it and the guy's open, he drops it for a touchdown pass. Now, instead of it being a touchdown, now it's like, oh, snap, now we're 3rd and goal, so now you have to throw it again, right? So that's what messes up when you get inside the 10-yard line, when you're just like 1st and goal, or 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal. Now, the other thing to me is the fact that Robert Lewis had to test that bothers me because the simple fact is you shouldn't have to be perfect to win these games.
You're
So
right.
it's almost like they feel like they have to play the perfect game in order to win.
Yeah.
Like you never have to play the perfect game to win. Like you should be allowed a mistake or one drop or something in there. That just means like we're playing a little bit of tense right now. That means we're not playing free.
Yeah.
And you just said we need to let our shoulders down and go for it.
Yes.
We're not playing for the playoffs. We're not playing for the SEC championship. Like you still have a shot at a bowl game, but the only way you're gonna get there is letting your hair down and letting your shoulders down and go play.
Exactly.
I think a lot of it is too, you know, not pushing the thing, any further than what we already know is. I think early in the year they said, "Hey, let's take some shots and start throwing all those interceptions."
Yeah. True.
Throwing all those interceptions, I think Coach became, all right. You know what? Like the only way to protect this thing is to try to just be as vanilla as we possibly can, as they say.
Yeah.
And I think I do think they want to try to push the ball downfield, but do you trust your decision maker that's throwing the ball? If we have 17 picks in, like my first 5 games, it kind of like it's cost you ball games, right?
Yeah.
So it makes
So
you
has your decision making.
yeah, it makes you trigger shy,
Yeah.
right? So I understand that a little bit, but at this point, I'm like you saying, like honestly, nothing against Peyton and nothing against anybody, but at the end of the day, is if we go in this Kentucky game and we don't see any progress offensively with Peyton at quarterback, I think it's time that you give Hank an opportunity to go ahead and see what you got in this kid for the next couple of games.
Agreed.
Like see if he can respond after having a couple of turnovers in Arkansas. Like you never know if a person knows how to respond to anything until they're given the opportunity again.
Exactly.
I don't want his last opportunity to be was him coming off those interceptions against Arkansas.
Right.
I would like to see what's inside this young man. Like, can he
Mhm.
come back and put it behind him and come out the next time he get a chance to start or next time he get a chance to get in the game? And can he go out there and that's what quarterback's all about, right? Is being able to, bounce back, have the mentality, hey, push it to the side, get back out there and keep going.
Right.
Well, we got to have the opportunity to see him do that, to know like what we have in a young man.
Yep.
So, I would just say like, hey, hopefully we go up here and win this Kentucky game, and then we can start to try to stack some. They're not going to be easy, but if you can start to stack a few, then it helps the morale of your team. It has the momentum of everything, and I think it makes these kids feel better. Now, the great thing
Yeah.
about it, we're not getting blowed out. 3 of these games we're going to the fourth quarter winning. And I'm no more a victory guy because those are no more victories. Like losing is losing, winning
Yeah.
is. But if you change 3 or 4 plays in each of those games, we're victorious. But the
Yeah.
thing, how do you change 3 of those 4 to play? You can't just say it's 3 to 4 plays. How do you change those 3 to 4 plays? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What would you do differently? And what would you do differently next time you're in the situation? So
And they
we
haven't done that.
right. The Oklahoma game, we're up 11 points going to the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And we're driving the ball. Of course, we ended up throwing pick six and all that type of stuff. And the rest is history. This game, we're going to the fourth quarter. We're up 11 again. So when we got the ball back, I'm gonna tell you where it hit home to me. And you talked about the play calling a while ago. Yes, you can't have too many guys in the kitchen, because that just means one person can be thinking this, another person can be thinking that, and you got to 15 seconds to get this play called in.
Right.
So, it needs to be as smooth as it can go. So, however they need to work that out, they just need to roll with one person. Just say, hey, give me your ideas, but who's ever calling it, call it.
Yeah.
I just think from a standpoint of you got the ball back on the 38-yard line up by 3, 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. At that point in time, for me, that was the time to put them away. Like that's when I think we ran an off tackle run to Jarquez, got tackled for a yard loss, and then we ran Peyton on the same side, got tackled for another loss, I think. And then on third down, that's when we threw the ball to Sam Jackson to try to get in field goal range, ball a little bit too high, whatever. Sam could have called it, whatever. But at that time, that's when we lost the game.
Yeah.
I was at the 38-yard line. Out of a short punt, defense just held them backed up on the 2-yard line. You got to go win the game at that point. I feel like at that point, that's when we should have been aggressive and went for the win, because now everyone see you going for the win. It's
Right.
almost like we were playing just to hang on to those 3 points and not go put them away, and it bit us in the butt.
Agreed. It was disappointing all the way around. I do, we were hoping that we would see more from Jarquez Hunter. He had been averaging 13 carries per game, which didn't make sense. He had 85 all-purpose yards. Malcolm Simmons is such a stud of an athlete. He just has such good ability, shiftiness, vision. Like, I really like how we're utilizing him. I would like to see more of it. The linebackers were very disruptive. Honestly, some guys that we haven't said their names as much as we anticipated we would this season. Eugene Asante, Jalen McLeod, and Dorian Mausi, they combined for 19 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 4 tackles for loss. It was a great game for them. They were very disruptive. It really was just kind of the same narrative that by the end, the offense just completely stalls and can no longer do anything. And at that point, the defense is tired. They've done everything that you possibly could, but they can't put it away. And I'm just not entirely sure how that changes, but hopefully they do something to kind of create momentum. Before we get into that preview, let me tell you about our last sponsor, and that is Cherubundi. Natural products and ingredients, no added sugar. In case you didn't know, tart cherries are the highest antioxidant fruit or vegetable in the world. They are known to reduce soreness, increase your recovery. They contain naturally occurring melatonin, so they can improve your sleep and help support immunity. They are used by nearly 500 collegiate and professional sport teams, every NFL team, and 66 of the 67 Power 4 conference football teams. Auburn is utilizing this. Every NCAA football and basketball national champion since 2007 has utilized Cherubundi. I have received a package. They're just little packets of cherry, and the products are available on Amazon, cherubundi.com, and at retailers nationwide, including Publix and Kroger. That is CHERIBUNDI.com. Utilize that for any of your recovery needs. And I'm sure Auburn has needed a good bit of it after some of these results. But they head to Lexington, and Kentucky is coming off 2 conference losses to Vanderbilt and Florida. This last week was a really bad one. They had 3 turnovers. They allowed Florida running back Jaden Bott 5 touchdowns. And look, Florida at the beginning of the season was a team that everyone was scoffing at, and they just took down Kentucky. Not even difficult. 48-20, Kentucky lost this one. I think their quarterback, Brock Vandagriff, has left plenty to be desired. He has a 57.6% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions right now. They do have a trio of running backs that they've been using this season, and Auburn's defense is giving up 118 yards per game, so definitely have to key in on 3 guys, not just kind of one hot hand. But this definitely is one that should be Auburn's. Like, I think Auburn is the better team here. Are they capable of getting it done? I have no idea. They haven't given me a reason to think they can. Should they? Yes. And I do think it's really important that they do.
Yeah, for me, it is. These are 2 similar teams, right? Like, Kentucky showed so much promise a little bit early in the season, and you almost knock off Georgia at home, and then you get Vanderbilt coming in town, and you lose to Vanderbilt at home, and
they beat Ole Miss before that.
Ole Miss before that on the road at Oxford, and so it's kind of like their fans are like, scratching their heads too, kind of like, dang, which one are we? You know, like, and I think for Auburn is you're in all these ball games and you don't know how to close, and at some point you're like, okay, when are we going to start closing these games?
Right.
And if you could learn how to be a closer, and everything, then Auburn can be a better football team going down the stretch. It's an important game for both teams. Why? Both of these, I think Coach in Kentucky, I think he just signed his new contract or whatever, but you're going into a window where you was already complaining about funding last year because you felt like the basketball program was getting all the money in Kentucky, right? So now they've helped you get a couple of guys, and it's kind of unraveling a little bit.
Yeah.
So, that's its own problem. And then for Auburn, it is, okay, when are we going to start learning how to win SEC football games again?
Right.
So we haven't won an SEC football game in a while. And at some point in time, the narrative has got to change. It got to start at some point. And now it needs to start now, because you need to win a couple of these games going down the end of the season, because you got to have some form of momentum going into the offseason. We talked about it last year. I didn't like the way we finished against the Maryland game. And I said we learned nothing. I said because of how we played in the Maryland game. We beat an Alabama State team, but the next time we played a quality opponent, we did what? We lost.
Yep.
And then we beat a Sanford team. A New Mexico team. The next time we played a quality opponent, we lost. So we gotta beat a quality opponent, and it needs to start now. Like, it is important that Auburn can try to stack 3 in a row here. You need to get the Kentucky game, you need to get the Vanderbilt game at home, and you got to get the UL game at home before you play A&M and Bama. If you get some momentum going to those games, then anything is possible. But we got to learn how to win again.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, you got to this week, coaches need to coach to go for everything. I ain't talking about like just go for it. I'm talking about just let it loose. Just go for it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about how many times you run it. Don't worry about how many times you throw it. Like, whatever is there, take it. Just go for it. Players play the relentless. Like,
Yeah.
Go for it. Like, just go all out. Like,
What do you have to lose at this point?
right. Like, play free.
Yeah.
Everything. So I just feel like, this is opportunity that we can't waste it, Taylor. Taylor's getting disgruntled. A lot of people are
I've been disgruntled, Jay. Roll the tape. But
I didn't want to say it last week was gonna win 5 in a row. So
it's still
it is it is it is still
I can't.
It is still an opportunity. Like, we have 5 games left. So just at least let me stay in the fight for a couple of weeks at least. Like, let's
I'm
win
with you.
a couple in a row.
It definitely feels like a game that our defense will have the advantage. I really think that they can impact Brock Vandegrift, really I think it's going to be probably low scoring, truthfully, but I think that our offense will do enough to get the dub. But I'm with you. I think down the stretch, you do have to start considering when is it worth getting some of these young guys real valuable reps. And that's a difficult thing to do as a coach, because you're essentially in a way waving the white flag and acknowledging that we're thinking toward next year instead of the 1-0 mentality that coaches love to preach that they're doing every week. But you do have to think about guys that honestly could provide a spark that 10 weeks in you haven't seen. So there is good to be taken on either way. I did want to ask you, though, as it stands right now, who in your mind is the best team in the SEC right now? Crazy result this past weekend with Georgia beating Texas comfortably. Alabama loses to Tennessee. They've also lost to Vanderbilt, but they beat Georgia. LSU potentially. I think LSU A&M will be a better test. I think Texas A&M is certainly one you keep your eye on. Tennessee has the one loss to Arkansas, but now a win over Bama. As it sits right now, still some major matchups that I think will be the true test. But who has impressed you most and leading the charge in the SEC right now?
If you get closer to November, it's always said November to remember.
This year in particular,
it's going to shape up that the schedules will get really, really tough for a lot of teams, and the meat's got to separate from the potatoes. And what I think about when I think about the best team in conference right now, it got to be Georgia, right? Like they went into Alabama down 28-0. They come all the way back to take the lead.
Sure.
And then you go to another hostile environment in Texas where everybody across the country picked Texas to beat you and beat you handily. And I'd be the one to say I did pick Georgia in that game.
Let's go, Jay. I picked Texas.
And everybody's like, dude, you're crazy. You got to be like on something. I said, no, I'm not on anything. I say Texas hadn't been hit in the mouth yet. I say they play finesse football. Georgia plays hard-nosed football, and they're going to see if you like it or not early.
True.
That's exactly what happened.
Texas's strength of schedule was bad up until that. Oklahoma's clearly not good if South Carolina beat them that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And it just, which makes it harder for me to accept the loss that
we lost. Yep.
So when I think about it, Georgia took that game. And it's not like their secondary is good or anything, but that defensive front, they went to work on Texas. They showed up those tackles. They made Ewers look like Evers was your Evers. What is it? Which one is it? I don't remember. But they made him look like
Ewers.
Yeah, Ewers. They made him look like a freshman quarterback. And so I take from that, Taylor, is that we went to Athens and competed. So something it's something we got to change to flip the switch, and we're right there. But Georgia to me is the best team right now in the SEC.
I would agree with you. I am keeping an eye on LSU, but they've got to have a couple more convincing wins for me to really buy in. But it does set up, I think, Texas A&M at the end of the season is going to be really interesting. That long missed rivalry, and now potentially would have implications on who goes to the SEC championship playoff bids. I think that one will be really compelling. A&M LSU, I think, is going to be interesting, and what Tennessee continues to do, because I think their loss to Arkansas was a tough one, but then they beat Bama, and so it's just kind of, proofs will be in the pudding by the end of season. So we'll see what everyone's able to do. Unfortunately, our Tigers are not in that conversation, but hopefully they at least put a better product on the field. Lord, here's hoping. But that is going to do it for us here on Bleav in Everything Auburn. Thank you so much for listening and following along. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. You can get a notification every time we release an episode. Make sure you find us on YouTube if you prefer to watch in video format. We are on Bleav's YouTube channel, so you can search Bleav in Everything Auburn and find us there. Once again, thank you to our sponsors. We are presented by BetOnline, Mellon, and Cheribundi. We appreciate all of our sponsors and our listeners. We look forward to breaking it all down with you next week. And until then, War Eagle.
War Eagle.